So after reading every single comment, I realized maybe I didn't go in depth enough because it sounded like I hated Yuta. Yuta's like in my top 5 favorite characters in JJK. It was just my opinion. But a lot of this was people saying that Kashimo didn't scale above Yuta, and I realized people actually think Yuta is stronger than Kashimo. So I had a whole video already on this topic, but I felt like I need to go in depth a bit more. So let's start off with their base scaling and who they fought. Yuta, like I mentioned in my last video, has a total of 3 real fights. The most important of those, at least I think that we can gauge of his ability, is against Ryu Ishigori and Uro. And by extension, Kurorushi, and I guess you can count Druve, but I don't count him because he got off-screened. But so Kurorushi is a special grade curse who scales directly below the disaster curses, like pretty blatantly he isn't as strong as them, which isn't an anti-feat to Yuta because Yuta dealt with him insanely easily. He didn't even need his curse technique or domain, or I mean he used RCT output, but it wasn't really necessary in the fight. So he's at least with this fight in between the disaster curses. Now, his next fight was against Ryu Ishigori and Uro. Now, Ryu is insanely important because he was just made relevant again in the story by Sukuna. Sukuna saying that Yuta and Yuji don't surpass Ryu in durability. And in the fight, it was literally shown Yuta, when it came to pure fighting ability, isn't as strong as Ryu. Like, how hard he hits, he's just not up there. That's because of Ryu's enormous cursed energy output. That's not a real knock to Yuta either, because Ryu has the highest cursed energy output in the series. So he directly scales above Ryu and Uro. I'm not mentioning Uro because she was the weakest fighter out of Yuta, Ryu, and herself. She doesn't really matter. But how I can scale Yuta to being directly below Ryu in physicality and like just pure hands is because Rika is stated to be stronger and faster than Yuta. Rika got one shot by Ryu, like full to the face, just boom, she literally de-manifested because of how hard Ryu hit her. But I do think, if case this isn't clear, I do think Yuta scales above Ryu. And you may ask, why am I using this fight and not his fight against Sukuna? Well, this Sukuna was nerfed way more than even the Sukuna that was fighting Ryu, because that was a 15-finger Sukuna who fought Ryu, and we can scale exactly how strong Sukuna is currently. Sukuna states that his cursed energy output and amount are now so low to the point where they're about where Yuta is, maybe lower. Which means Yuta states that Sukuna has twice or maybe a bit more cursed energy than him, which means Sukuna is around 10 fingers if we're going off of the fingers being equal in strength, which if we don't do that, they're unquantifiable. So let's just say that he was half as strong, and he's still giving Yuta and Yuji crazy work. By the way, if you don't know this, Yuta is currently dead in the manga. He's literally cut in half, just like Gojo. I'll just put the picture up right now. So he got destroyed just like Kashimo and Gojo and Yorozu. But currently, basically, he's a 10-finger Sukuna. The 15-finger one that completely speed blitzed Ryu would do the exact same to Yuta. This can also put to bed the conversation of, oh, well, Yuji said that 15-finger Sukuna would probably get beaten by Yuta. No, it's just been confirmed by Gege. Yuta would lose against a 15-finger Sukuna. And this also goes on to scale Yuta to around a Jogo level, because Jogo was stated to be around 8 or 9 fingers. I personally believe that he's around 7 or 6 finger Sukuna. I think Yuta is in the range of 9, or actually 8 to 7 fingers. But this also goes to show how strong Gojo is. But now let's get into Kashimo scaling. Kashimo has only one other fight besides his Sukuna fight in the series, but I do believe that he's much more impressive than Yuta, mainly because of when we first meet Kashimo, he knows Kenjaku, and he didn't feel that Ryu Ishigori or Kenjaku would actually give him a challenge like Sukuna would have. And I completely agree with Kashimo. And let's start with his actual fight against Hakari to prove this. So Hakari, it was insanely lucky throughout that entire fight. He hit a grand total of, I believe, 3 jackpots during the fight. And Kashimo had a great statement, the turn up the volume. He could have just trolled the entire fight and like ran away and stalled, but he just chose to fight a jackpot Hakari who Yuta said was stronger than him. Like, and I don't believe that jackpot Hakari is like, when I talk about strength, I'm talking about physicality right now. Like how Ryu is physically stronger than Yuta. I believe Jackpot Hakari is similar to that, but on a much higher degree. And he's actually, Kashimo, he's be able to go blow for blow with this Jackpot Hakari. Not easily, but he's able to maintain it while thinking up a complete strategy to kill Hakari, which he actually executes perfectly. And I think there is a plot hole in that fight where Hakari is able to eject the cursed energy that Kashimo throws at his brain through his nose. That's not possible at all, but it's a manga, I guess. Do what you want. Kashimo should have won the fight, and the means that Hakari went to actually win that fight, he made Kashimo expend all his cursed energy, because if Kashimo turned off his cursed energy, he's a regular human being and he would have been killed by a kick from Hakari. And if he didn't, like if he did though, this would still have all his cursed energy basically blow up. And we saw the result of that. He blew up the lake, but we also see an insane intelligence feat. He's able to create hydrochloric gas to basically poison Hakari, which we all know the biggest weakness to RCT is that you can't heal yourself. But Kashimo goes against literally the one person where none of his abilities are going to work. Like his big thing being the fact that you can't block his punches. Hakari has infinite cursed energy, so he can block his punches. And then the one-shot insta-kill that Kashimo has doesn't work on Hakari because he can just heal his brain while ejecting cursed energy through his nose. It's like the fight was very much so set up to where Kashimo had no way to win. But this Kashimo, I believe, scales in like speed, durability, strength, scales a little bit under Jackpot Hakari. The reason I say this is because Hakari wasn't fully seriously trying to kill Kashimo. He was rather talkative, and like when his jackpot was about to actually end, he revved it up and was just thrashing on Kashimo. So this is where the scaling is currently at. Yuta is around an 8 to 7 finger Sukuna, about a Jogo tier, maybe a bit under 10 finger Sukuna. And Kashimo, he's scaling, and but Yuta's scaling a little bit under Jackpot Hakari. I say a little bit. This is before the time skip though. Keep in mind, before time skip. And then Kashimo is scaling slightly below Hakari as well. So right now they're about on even footing. But let's go to the time skip. And the biggest thing about the time skip for Yuta, he gained 2 abilities. That being Sukuna's Cleave and Dismantle and Angel's Jacob's Ladder. Now, I don't think Angel's Jacob's Ladder would have any effect on Kashimo. Mainly because I don't think that he's evil, per se. I just think he's a psychopath. So just define evil if you want. Sukuna's just, I guess, blatantly evil. This also could work, however, like the expending the cursed object in Kashimo's vessel, but I think that's lame, personally, and I'm just not going to include that, because it wouldn't be a fair fight. But Kashimo basically, how he gains his cursed technique, well, we don't know how much the cursed technique actually boosts him, but we can put it to where he was able to completely outdo an injured Sukuna with no RCT output though. And this was a 20 finger Sukuna. He was injured, but it was 20 finger Sukuna. So it's like it's not an anti-feat, but it's not a feat, I would say. The more important of the fight would be when he released his cursed energy, his cursed technique, and the lightning bolt was coming to Sukuna. This basically proved that that's a one-shot ability. After I believe he hit 5 hits on Sukuna, and the lightning was coming to him, Sukuna had to transform into his hand air form to avoid dying. This proves that that is a one-shot technique. Also, I don't think Kashima's cursed energy trait would work on Yuta because it didn't work on Hakari. And let's just say that Yuta put on the ring as soon as the fight started, and that's basically he basically has infinite cursed energy just like Hakari. So let's just say that doesn't work. How the fight would go in character, if the characters both knew all about each other's techniques, I think Yuta would pop his domain immediately. Now, it's never stated if Hakari has Hollow Wicker Basket, but he was the strongest. I would assume that people had domains in his era. So, I believe he would have a Hollow Wicker Basket, or maybe even a simple domain, if that was, because that, Kashima's era was 600 years before the series, Heian era was 1,000 years. But functionally, they're the same technique, so they don't really matter. Actually, scratch that. Hollow Wicker Basket seems to be much stronger. So let's just say that the technique that Yuta employs on his domain is Sukuna Slashes. And what we've seen from Sukuna Slashes, Gojo can out-heal them. Like, his RCT output is good enough. And I don't know if Kashimo has RCT, but I would presume that he does. Again, he's the strongest of his era. This is all presumptions, by the way. If you don't agree with this, let's just say no RCT, he has the Hollow Wicker Basket out. Here's what's going to happen. Before Yuta can even activate his technique, he's blitzed. He's blitzed, because Kashimo scales so much further, because he almost is perception blitz with his cursed energy technique released. Let's say he just starts off with that. He almost blitzes 20 finger Sukuna. And I don't think his perception gets that much weaker because of the hollow purple. So Yuta is getting done so dirty, it's actually insane. Now, I know for a fact, no, not everyone's going to agree with me with this. I hope you watch to the end of the video, because look at all of these comments about Yuta. Yeah, like, just look. Look. I had like one comment that, what's it called? That agreed with me. And look at this like to dislike ratio. Yeah, people really love Yuta. But this is what I believe. If you want a specific character done, my Discord is going to be in the description of the video. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video.